Shortly before midnight, we come to the end of the second leg and the terminus for the standard gauge train. It'll wait here several days until the return journey. For a train so famous as the Ghan, a midnight rendezvous seems a rather inglorious way to make its acquaintance. In the hot and gloomy moonlight of Marree, you wonder if this is the real Ghan. Why doesn't something say so? No lights, no names, just the old carriages sitting, waiting. The platform soon empties, except for the kitchen crew intent on transferring food and lots of drink for the remaining 870 kilometres to Alberrie Springs. Somehow it almost seems clandestine, as though they shouldn't be doing it, and as though we shouldn't be there. Marree is one of the hottest spots in Australia. For years it was the base of all camel trains which preceded the Ghan north, so it's appropriate that it's home and stable for the real Ghan, although in the dusk it looks anything but the changeover point it becomes after dark each week. With camel strings regarded as perfect for use in opening up the outback, camel breeding farms were operated around Marree until finally usurped by the Ghan itself.
The Ghan was a bit faster than the old camels, that's about all, but there's nothing that you couldn't bring along that I can't put on a camel.
And did you used to do many trips on the camels?
Oh, yes, I was up in Minka, Birdsville, all up that country, a couple of trips to Alberrie Springs before the railway line.
What sort of things did you have to remember with camels?
Well, you don't have to remember that much. Once you get going with camels, everything sort of comes to you. You know what you got to do. And it's load them up in the morning. You do your 25 or 30 mile a day. Then you offload them at night, obble them, take the saddles off, water them if you got water handy, and let them go. And in the morning you chase them again, bring them back again.
The Afghan camel drivers and their families formed half of the population of Marree when the camels travelled all regions north and east from the township. They developed the town as their religious centre. Mosques were built, although no reminders of these remain in the town today. The going of the Ghan should have little effect on Marree and its current population of 300. Some rail workers, such as cleaners on the Ghan itself, will leave. But it will continue to be the rail centre for cattle sent down the Birdsville track, which itself terminates in Marree. Not only that, it will also remain the top end of the standard gauge line, serving the Lee Creek coalfields. The changeover at Marree in the stealth of night sets the mood. What to expect beyond the darkness of the desert in view of stories about the Ghan and the battering it's taken over the years from derailments and flash floods. A mechanic makes last-minute repairs to the undercarriage of Car 3, giving strength to the various legends.
Well, we have a rusted train pipe here and we've had to replace it, and we've also had to rethread the other piece which joins it, of course.
That happened in the derailment, did it?
Yeah, it happened as a result of the derailment up at Warrina, up the road there.
Very bad?
Yeah, pretty bad. 4 coaches, they were always a problem. They're heavy, of course.
When the Ghan finally moves off, it's with respect for its age and the condition of the track. The creaking of joints is followed by a slow roll, something akin to being on a ship in medium to heavy swell. Time is becoming meaningless. Passengers are allotted either single or twin berths. Neither exactly screams out with spaciousness, and the single feels as though it could double as a broom closet. Yet sleeping isn't hard. Once you accept the limitations of a bunk precisely body length and body width in dimension, the easy rhythm of the train does the rest. The Ghan emerges at dawn like a caterpillar on a tightrope. Lake Eyre and the lowest lying land in Australia have passed somewhere to the east and behind us. As suddenly as it went to sleep, the train is awake. Faces which were vaguely familiar from as far back as Adelaide pop up again. With every encounter, the waiters are becoming far less formal, but there's a feeling they could play the serving scenario without a second thought.
Rice fruit? Gentlemen?
Rice bubbles, thank you.
Rice bubbles? Fruit?
Yeah, whatever those. Comfort of fruit, rolled oats, cornflakes, all bar and rice bubbles. That's right. Eggs, bacon, pork, sausage and egg. What about poached boiled or scrambled egg? Toast, marmalade, tea, coffee and cocoa.
Does anyone want a beer?
The spirit of camaraderie between passengers and crew has persisted throughout the Ghan's history.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Channel 7 News crew on the Ghan.
Maybe ever since 1883, when the powder magazine on one of the trains blew up. Fast action by the crew then saved the passengers, who, in gratitude, immediately took up a collection for the driver, guard and others, with the sounds of the explosion still ringing in their ears.
When you're ready, Jack. Make an extra one. Chop an egg for two. Marcel.
Breakfast and William Creek usually arrive simultaneously if there have been no problems. It's literally a one-hotel town. The Ghan rarely stops more than 10 minutes at places like William Creek. Just enough to say hello, hand over the mail and supplies, and leave again.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next stop is Edwards Creek, where the train takes on water. You may leave the train for a few minutes while we're watering the cars, but don't wander too far away from the train.
Despite the warning and intense heat, passengers seem compelled to wander. Whether it's because it's the first opportunity to move from the train since Marree or a chance to soak up the remoteness, it's hard to say. But there's no doubt that some are trying to imagine what Edwards Creek was like around the turn of the century and before. Of course, in those days, the train used to empty at every stop where there was a pub, and apparently there were plenty of those. What the passengers would do is go inside, have a beer, and when they heard the whistle from the engine, they'd straggle back in their own good time. Nothing seems to have changed today much because at Edwards Creek here, the people still get up, but all they have is the desert. Still, Edwards Creek is pretty special because it's where the old locomotives, the Puffing Billy style, used to stop on their way to Alice to water up. That's another similarity today. They still water up here, and the conductors in their bow ties still get out in the hot desert sun. If one thing is common to the old Ghan trips and those of today, it's the need to take on water in an uncompromising desert. The freshwater spring here made Edwards Creek an ideal location for a fettless camp and locomotive depot, a role it enjoyed during the 1930s. Unlike many of the older centres, remnants of those days, like the locomotive sheds, can be found by the line. Sheds for the fettlers' trolleys, or quads as they're known today, sit across the line from ruins of the cottages which were home for the workers in Edwards Creek 90 years ago. It was in this inhospitable environment that they serviced the narrow-gauge route of the Ghan for miles in either direction, even fighting the odd plague of grasshoppers and ants which infested the tracks. It's not hard to see why Ghan country has always been regarded as the land of plenty of time and wait a bit. It's certainly so today, even without the irritations and delays they faced in the days of steam. It'll take the locomotive a good kilometre or two to get the train wound up, and even then the fastest we'll travel is only 40 kilometres an hour, the maximum allowed on the old track. There's almost an urge to get out and run past it at times when the slow roll becomes most noticeable. Years of practice walking the Ghan's corridors have given Chief Conductor Ambrose Aspro Lyons a distinct gait. With legs apart and set to overcome the rolling motion, Spro can get down the corridors faster than most. Not that he often needs to.
Morning, did you have a nice sleep?
In this never-never land, Aspro has a how-you-going relationship with everyone. passengers and crew, some of whom claim he's almost as famous as the train itself. And so he should be after working on it more than 35 years.
In the old days, the non-air conditioned days, it was, you know, the people used to mix around freely. You used to bring all the Territorians down every Christmas, and they'd bring their dogs and their cats, and all the pets. And but nowadays they mostly fly. But in them days, we used to know nearly everyone on the train. Everyone sort of knew one another.
But it's still like that today, don't you think?
Oh yes, it's just, but you don't get so many of the Territorians out there.
Passengers may have changed over the years, but the compartments haven't. Their craftsmanship is outstanding without belying their age.
Oh, I'll be 50 years old. Used to be on the old trains in the non-air conditioned days. 2 taps, hot, cold.
And then you just fold it away?
Yeah.
And close it?
Yeah.
And this is drinking water?
That's ice water, yeah.
And how easy is it to make your bed up when you want to go to bed? If you...
Oh, well, they just pull down. They're made up in the morning, and they just pull them down like this.
And that's it. Throw the pillow on.
Like its predecessors, the camels, perhaps the Ghan too could be called the ship of the desert. For the comparison with a ship is an accurate one. From the style of service to the rotating change of shifts with the crew. The consistent drumming of the engine, the games being played, the friendship. It even moves at a similar speed. Only the promenade deck and ocean are missing. And while there's no captain as such, the drivers are separated from the passengers and other crew whose destiny they control. That isolation makes them self-sufficient as well as watchful.
Once you learn the track, you know it, but at night you've got to concentrate, especially if you get a bit weary, you know, a bit tired towards early hours of the morning.
What would you rather drive, the old Ghan or something nice and new?
Well, I think you've got to look for progress, don't you? I think the new line's on its way.
But you might miss the Ghan a bit.
Oh, I think so. I think all the old original drivers will be sorry to see it go.